Hello everyone. Thank you once more to Matjaž, all the team, all the staff, Milan, Damian. They have been amazing, helping every sort of way, taxis, eating, food, drinking. It has been a pleasure being here this week. I will talk a little bit about water, not just in a menace or an element that we should fight, but I think water is also something we have to look at as a consumption, as a good. And I think this image relates to the, one of the drawings, early drawings of Ljubljana, when it first established in this territory. What I want to show this is, like many other cities in Europe, like from my own hometown, Porto, which is on the river, along the river, these cities were there for a reason. They established there because of a reason, because mainly of the fact that there was water there, there was a river. So what is today, what was before the main reason for cities to be established is now something which is forgotten. All the rivers that we have nowadays in the same city centers, they are just abandoned. They are just there without no being consumption or whatsoever. Of course, there is this contradiction phenomenon, because on one hand we have this flooding coming in, loads of water coming in, and on the other hand we are not consuming it. We are using spring water, using resources, mechanisms, engineering works, and effort and consumption of energy to dig down and to get this spring water, and then you have the river just passing by, and then sometimes we have floodings. So I want to explore this contradictional reality. So as a urban community expands, then facilities have to be also designed, and to being able to manage all these natural resources we once found in our territory. So, of course, this is what I want to show. Why we are not consuming the river, the water that we have there in our so physically abundant in our cities. It's one of the reasons is this, is the sewage, and it's so contaminated even in our days, like that image in Chicago, for example. When the winter comes, the melting of the snow, the rain, all this concentrates in such an amount that our infrastructure does not handle these floods, this amount of water. So we don't have any other chance just to, just put them on the river that we have in our cities. So this is a map of Ljubljana showing a little bit the abundancy of the wastewater, the sewage, the rivers, and the wastewater treatment plants. So we can see that this is in our days what's going on, and the dimension that it has. This is one of the sewage treatment plants, where you can see where it comes from, the water, and the amount of water that is treated. And of course, here it is, the river passing by, and we humans and ignoring it, the use of it, just we contemplate it as a beautiful and romantic scenario. As before, we still had some use of it before this, abundancy and concentration of human density. So I think what we like, our approach in our company is to see things as organisms, as the human body. I think if we look at the human body, this is an early work of a suggestion of inhabiting the human body. So just looking at the human body as an organism and where different organs have their own function. So for example, the mouse would be the kitchen, the intestines, the treatment plant, the bladder, the filter of the water, so and the circulatory system would be the water supply, the nervous system, the electrical supply. So we making these analogies, we just make one conclusion, is that our organisms have a certain self-sustainability of consumption of resources and management of resources. So why don't we look at the city as this way? This is another early work where in a community scale, which is this building, we introduce different organs into this organism that probably in our daily life we don't have them, which is, for example, the biogas digester, which is, of course, the same thing we have in our bodies, which is the stomach, which processes matter and produces energy. The recovery of rainwater, the introduction of other animals in our community is something that in the old days, it was very common. So there was this balance of resources which gave an equilibrium of the environment. So on the right, there's the human body with the analogy of the infrastructure and the equipment of resembling the house of a dwelling, for example. So this is a prototype we made of the biogas power plant, which we are now trying to test it. So this work we did here in Ljubljana, we did the same analogy. We looked at the human body, when we look at the Ljubljana as the human body, you see, and we gave names to the body, the same organs that Ljubljana functions with. Power plants, the parliament, which is the brain, maybe, who takes decisions, the lungs, which is the forest, the bladder, which is the filters. So it's always making this analogy and shifting in scales. So the human body, the dwelling. So you can see in the dwelling the mechanisms and the functions inside. The daily use that we have, and as humans, we operate in. So you can see that there is a grid of sewage, the grid of water supply, a grid of energy supply. So we are all connected to this network, us humans. So the human body, again, in this sketch, I'm trying to implement the organs of the human body and replace them by the equipment of the house. And again, Ljubljana could be our house. So the drawing's not really clear, but maybe upstairs you can see it clear enough in the exhibition, is the relation of these three scales: house, Ljubljana, and human body. So in this sense, we can understand that it's a matter of scale. And if we narrow it down, the scale of use and management of resources, of water, for example, maybe the floods from the rivers, as being consumption by us, will decrease the problem of use and would define the implementation of society in the territory. You see what I mean? So, yeah, upstairs, this is the last picture, which is referring to the prototype we made, considering that in the city itself, the soil that works with water, you know that our body is 70% water content. And in the city, in the soil as well. So relating to the skin of our body, we kind of make this analogy of how the skin of our cities or our dwellings also function the same way our bodies work. So, that's it. Thank you.